15,000 years ago, a wolf walked toward a human fire. Nobody ran, nobody threw a spear, and that single moment changed the entire history of life on Earth. We talk about great inventions, the wheel, fire, language, but what happened between humans and wolves might be the most extraordinary thing our species ever did. Because we did not invent something. We built a relationship with a predator, and it worked. This is that story. Early humans had no cities, no walls, no weapons made of metal. They moved across open land in small groups, following animals, reading the sky, listening for anything moving in the dark. The nights were long, the cold was real, and survival was never guaranteed. Wolves were everywhere, and wolves were watching. Both species hunted in groups, both protected their young. Both were intelligent enough to read the world around them and make decisions based on what they saw. In many ways, a wolf pack and a human tribe operated almost identically. They feared the same predators. They celebrated the same kills. They mourned their dead. This is where everything begins. When humans made a kill, they ate and left. Bones, scraps, blood on the ground. Wolves discovered this. A bold wolf could get a meal near a human camp without the risk of a dangerous hunt. Safer food. Easier survival. So the bolder wolves began drifting closer. Night after night, camp after camp. And the humans noticed something. When wolves were near the camp felt different. The wolves could hear things no human ear could catch. They could smell what was coming long before it arrived. Their bodies changed when something was wrong. Ears shifted, muscles tensed. The whole animal became a signal. Humans are extraordinary at reading signals. They began to understand. These animals were telling them things, and the humans who listened stayed alive longer than the ones who did not. Some researchers believe the real turning point happened during one brutal winter, somewhere in what is now Eastern Europe. A wolf mother was killed. She left behind a litter of pups in the snow. A human child found one. The child carried it back to camp. It was shivering. Its eyes were barely open. It weighed almost nothing. And the tribe, instead of eating it, kept it alive. They fed it scraps. They let it sleep near the fire. The pup grew up surrounded by human voices, human smell, human hands. It never learned to fear people. It played with the children. It rested near the elders at night. It learned the rhythms of human life. When people woke, when they ate, when they slept, it learned all of it. Then, one evening, a large predator circled the camp. The young wolf heard it first. It stood up, hair rising along its spine, and let out a sound that shook the entire group awake. Every human was on their feet before they even knew why. The predator moved on, and in that moment, something shifted in how humans saw this animal. It was not a pet anymore. It was a partner. It was doing something no human could do, and it had chosen to do it for them. Over many generations, humans began making choices. They kept the calmer wolves, the ones that held eye contact, the ones that came when called, the ones that played without snapping. Without knowing anything about genetics or biology, ancient humans began shaping a new kind of animal. Slowly, the wolves that stayed near humans began to change. Their faces softened. Their ears changed shape. Their tails began to curl. Their bodies became smaller and more flexible. They started making sounds they had never made before, sounds directed at humans, almost like they were trying to speak. This process took thousands of years and happened across 3 continents simultaneously, and it was working beyond anything either species could have imagined. Humans began bringing their wolf companions on hunts. The wolves tracked scent across miles of open ground. They chased prey into positions where the humans could close in. They signaled when an animal changed direction. They covered ground that no human legs could match. The humans shared the kill, every single time. Both species ate better together than either ever had alone. In the coldest regions, something else happened. Wolves began sleeping against humans for warmth. People who would have frozen to death overnight survived because of the body heat of the animals curled around them. These were not accidents. These were chosen arrangements. Both sides moved closer on purpose. On the longest and coldest nights, a sleeping child pressed against a warm wolf was a child who woke up the next morning. That simple fact kept our species alive through some of the harshest winters in human history. There is a burial site in what is now Germany. It is 14,700 years old. Inside, a human and a dog were buried together. The dog was placed against the human's chest, curled close, the way it must have slept every night of its life. The bones of the dog showed signs that it had been sick before death, and that it had been cared for during that illness, fed, protected, kept alive. Not because it was useful anymore, because it mattered. Someone grieved that dog. Someone made the decision to bury it with the person it had loved. That is not ancient behavior. That is completely, recognizably human. Ancient cave paintings showed dogs running alongside hunters in coordinated chases. Early carvings found across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East show dogs sitting beside humans, always close, always present. These images were made by people who had no writing, no calendars, no way to record their world except through art. They chose to draw their dogs. That tells you everything. Modern science has revealed something that makes this story even more astonishing. Dogs today can read human facial expressions with a sophistication that no other animal on the planet can match. They can follow a pointing finger. They understand tone of voice at an emotional level. They can detect changes in human heartbeat and breath. Wolves cannot do any of this. Dogs develop these abilities specifically through their thousands of years living alongside humans. The relationship rewired them at a biological level. We did not just change how they looked, we changed how their minds work, and they changed us too. Anthropologists believe the partnership with dogs made early human hunters so much more effective that it led to larger food supplies, which supported larger groups, which accelerated the development of language and cooperation. Some researchers argue that without dogs, human civilization would have taken a completely different path. Think about that for a moment. Every city ever built, every road ever paved, every invention ever made. All of it unfolded in a world where humans and dogs were already partners. The dog was there at the beginning of everything. We did not simply domesticate an animal. We grew alongside one. Today, there are more than 1 billion dogs on Earth. They guide people who cannot see. They detect cancer before any machine can. They pull people out of collapsed buildings. They sit with soldiers who cannot sleep. They stay beside children who cannot speak. They rest their heads on the laps of people who are grieving without asking for any explanation. They have been doing versions of all these things for 15,000 years. The loyalty you see in a dog today is not trained behavior. It is not a trick. It is something that was built across thousands of generations of genuine partnership between two species who chose each other when they had every reason not to. Every one of those dogs carries in its blood the memory of that first wolf, the one that stepped close enough to the fire to accept something from an open human hand, the one that decided, for reasons no scientist has ever fully explained, to trust us. And every person who has ever looked into the eyes of a dog and felt something real looking back is part of that same story. It started 15,000 years ago on a cold night somewhere on this planet. Two species, two sets of eyes across a fire, one decision, and the world was never the same again.